Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Thursday the 14th of June 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political news today. And to start off with, the Brexit was back in the Commons last night, and certainly there was a lot to talk about. But let's start about Labour first, because their Brexit unity, or any concept of Brexit unity on the Labour Party, has been blown wide open by 90 Labour MPs revolting against the leader, Jeremy Corbyn, and the Labour Party whip yesterday to not abstain on the EEA, that's the European Economic Area Amendment, as part of the Brexit Withdrawal Bill, and actually vote for the EEA amendment, which was effectively an amendment saying, which had come back from the House of Lords, that the UK should stay within the European Economic Area, which is basically the single market or the Norway model, whatever you've heard recently. This includes 6 front benchers resigning as a result of supporting the EEA, and many of their faces you can see just right here as well. Now, for Jeremy Corbyn, that is a big moment. And we think about the context of what the government's been through with, one front bencher resigning or one minister resigning. Here you have 6 front benchers resigning and 90 MPs going against the party whip. It's a huge display of the extent of the divisions in the Labour Party over the extent of Brexit, whether it's a hard Brexit or a soft Brexit or a single market or a customs union Brexit, and certainly showed that Jeremy Corbyn hasn't quite got the same momentum behind him in terms of parliamentary support as he perhaps expected, or as perhaps we expected, because Labour's been so quiet in recent months in terms of Brexit, and therefore gave a sense of somehow being under the same umbrella in terms of being unified on a Brexit position. They weren't the only ones, of course. There is an upcoming Conservative bust-up, and this has been widely reported in the news today. And this is basically to do with the meaningful vote on the Brexit final deal. Now, if you remember what happened yesterday when the withdrawal bill first came into the Commons this week, Theresa May gave assurances to Dominic Grieve, who had put the amendment forward on a meaningful vote, to say, look, I will give some. You have my absolute word that you have some kind of meaningful vote on the Brexit deal when it comes back down the line. Don't worry, you guys just need to support me, withdraw your amendments and support me at this moment to get through defeat these pieces of amendments, and then we'll discuss it at a later date. So Dominic Grieve then withdrew the amendment. The Tory rebels then went away feeling they were happy. They'd got the assurances they needed in terms of some kind of meaningful vote. But now there seems to be total ambiguity as to what the Prime Minister actually guaranteed, with Remain obviously thinking that there was some kind of assurances, Remain voting or Remain leaning MPs thinking there's some kind of assurances, but Brexit MPs then saying, hang on, the Prime Minister hasn't made these kind of commitments. There is no such commitment at all. The problem there, of course, being that what the Prime Minister might have done is just kick down the road the fundamental split in the Conservative Party over this meaningful vote, and really fundamentally over a Brexit position as well. Now, a fresh amendment to the EU withdrawal bill is going to be put forward today by the government over this meaningful vote. So this is where Theresa May will have to unveil what the government's actual position is on a meaningful vote, and that will really resolve the debate over what she actually meant when she gave assurances to both Remain and Leave voting Tory MPs. That will cause no doubt some arguments and no doubt some news lines later on today, because literally you cannot square this, because there's such conflicting reports of what the assurances were on Monday. Someone's going to be annoyed at some point. Now, you have Ian Duncan-Smith, former Conservative leader, in the papers today saying, giving a meaningful vote will block Brexit perpetually. By that he means a meaningful vote will effectively stop the ability of a no deal. And if you don't have a no deal, you cannot negotiate properly with the EU, because they know that if you don't get your way, you're not going to just walk away and throw up the paper which has been agreed so far and just simply go it alone. So really interesting stuff today in terms of Brexit for both the Labour and Conservative parties. No doubt some more lines on that as Westminster wakes up in the next few hours. In the Commons as well, looking on to the next story, the SNP were also on form yesterday. They walked out of PMQs yesterday after its leader in the Commons, Ian Blackford, was thrown out by the Speaker, John Bercow. Now, the reason why this whole thing happened was Ian Blackford was protesting the lack of debate, or what he saw as the lack of debate over what he said was the power grab in the EU withdrawal bill, and that's basically the movement of laws from the EU back to the UK, and instead of going back to devolved administrations, they're going back to centralised government in Westminster. That's being seen as a power grab. He's not happy with the amount of debate which has happened around it and scrutiny over this power grab, and he said, I have no option but to ask the House now sits in private, and by that it means members of the public and the press can be removed from the galleries, and so MPs literally do debate in private. Now this is put to a vote. The real only contentious point, and the reason why Ian Blackford seemed to walk out, was that John Bercow, the Speaker, said, yes, we can have a vote on whether we can hear this in private at the end of PMQs. Ian Blackford refused to take his seat again after John Bercow had said that, and as a result he was asked to leave the chamber for the rest of the day, and that also means he can't be attending the debates today, from my understanding as well. Now, when Ian Blackford was thrown out of the Commons, all of the other SNP MPs followed him, and as a result, this mass walkout, which happened, as you can see in the papers in Scotland, it's got some coverage as well. For the SNP, wild speculation, or rather reports that it was basically a setup, it was a stunt to fulfil the aim of showing that the SNP are not complicit in any way with the Brexit legislation. But certainly a big event, or rather a big disturbance yesterday to PMQs, which will be getting lines particularly north of the English border. And finally, one more story. This is, of course, a big event today and an anniversary of the Grenfell Tower fire, which happened this time last year. 71 people died, with 203 households losing their homes. Now, one of the key reports coming through today is that 82 households of those 203 have been permanently rehoused, but 69 are still living in hostels or hotels, and indeed 52 still in temporary shelters. So going to be a lot of reports and indeed a lot of speculation, a lot of commentary around the treatment of those who've lost their households in the Grenfell fire. But fundamentally, in terms of what's going to be happening politically, it's going to be a day for remembering as well. You'll see a number of events and indeed occasions happening today. Landmarks have been lit green across London, including the Downing Street London Eye and the Tower itself. That's for the Green for Grenfell solidarity movement in support of that. And there's going to be an anniversary service held at 11 a.m. in North Kensington as well. And at 7 a.m. a silent march will take place through West London, for which it's reported Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader, will be attending. That's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic start to your Thursday.